Sam Seder is a political commentator, YouTuber, hardcore on the left, and he said that voting for Trump was a mistake unless you are a religious fundamentalist. And so that's a very interesting claim to make. I disagree with him on a whole lot, so let's see what he has to say about morality and God and society as he gets pressed by a guy named Eleazar Perez. I'll link his channel in the description below. Very fascinating conversation. Let's get into it.
Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference. So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation for my morality.
All right, let's pause there for a second. I love this so much. Anyone who tries to ground morals without God, it's always going to be about their preference. And that is a major problem. That is such a major problem. If it's not objective, then what is it? It's always going to boil down to a preference or some kind of majority preference, something like that. I just did a video again about Hunter Avallone that I'll link in the description for you, where you see the exact same thing. Let's see what Sam Seder has to say.
What?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a concept.
That's his grounding principle. Humanist vision that creates as little suffering possible for as many people. And then look what Eleazar says to him.
Creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist? Utilitarian?
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion.
That's not what he said. He didn't say anything about religion. He just said, if we're just stripping God from this, and I think it's right to kill people, you think it's wrong to kill people, how do we resolve that? And he goes, it doesn't have to do with religion.
So we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And for some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean it would.
Why? It's the collective.
It would be morally right under your view.
Not morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay,
here.
So here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off.
I believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates. You have a reproductive dead end, so two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
I love that he's, I don't know if he's like a Bible-believing Christian or not, Eleazar, but I love that he's not trying to directly use the Bible here because that would kind of shut down the conversation a little bit. He's saying, provide me the justification for it. Give me the justification.
Gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society has decided...
Should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Woo-hoo! Man, dude, again, this is the problem. When God is not your source of morality, it's going to get bad. You're either going to be really inconsistent or you're going to be really inconsistent or just tyrannical, inconsistent. It's bad.
I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than...
Okay, so you're okay with a 45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest?
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has also determined that it's not beneficial.
Right, there's duties.
Why? Because it's not natural? Is that why incest is a problem? Because it's not natural? Well, I can list you some other stuff that are not for humans natural.
Obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about freedom and exercising what you want.
I mean, well, you want to impose your religious doctrine on me, and I don't want that.
You just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument is...
Oh, man. Quick pause. That's incredible. I never use the air horn.
So why I don't want
you have no
your
contention.
religion to... Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions.
They go, well, even religious people can't agree on everything. Even religious people disagree about stuff. Okay, sure. But the disagreement about the filioque is not going to cost lives. Disagreement about the filioque, disagreement about even stuff like, let's say, the dating of Revelation 80, 70, or right at the turn of the century. That stuff is not going to cost anyone their lives. It's not going to rob people and push them into situations where they are stuck being victims of immorality when they don't need to be. Yes, there are disagreements, absolutely, but at least we have a grounding principle that is unchanging in its nature and that we all need to hold ourselves to. At least we have a framework. What they posit is a frameworkless society, a frameworkless world, and that is incoherent, it is nonsensical, it is dangerous, and it devolves naturally in the worst ways you can imagine.
And so my argument is, you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no. And this is why I say,
you see how he's not answering?
Under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of Christian.
and female. You're right.
You have a Christian nationalist.
See, now the conversation's kind of devolving a little bit, but you notice Sam never, ever at once either fleshed out really how his belief system works. He never even once in this conversation has explained how his belief system is coherent or consistent. He was confronted with the fact that what if the majority disagrees with you about trans rights? Is it right then? He goes, it's not about morality. And he still said he would disagree with it. Again, what is the problem? He says, if we as humans, here's the problem with this belief system, is if we as humans and this is the humanist term, as a collective agree on what is best for us as a society, then that's what we should do. Well, then what if we believe that stuff that the vast majority of us today say is horrible? What if we believe that 10 years from now that stuff is okay? Again, let's say most people say trans people should be, fully supported and helped out in being trans and stuff like that. Then what happens if we come back 10 years later and we do the exact opposite? We say strip them of all their rights. No human rights for existence for anyone who wants to even remotely identify that way. And the majority, the collective comes together and says that's what we're going to do. Is that now right? Is that now correct? Is that now moral? Is what is right or what is wrong determined by the number of adherents to the right or the wrong? The number of consent, the amount of consent to that right or that wrong thing, or just that thing that wants to be done? Is it just about how you feel or how I feel? I don't want to live in that world. And Sam Seder is absolutely deflecting from the point here where he goes, and this is what people do. It's such a terrible response when they have someone come to them and say, we should ground our morality in God. Otherwise, we're grounding it in our preference. And if we ground it in our preference, it's going to go very bad for us. And there's no grounding principle. So it just opens the door to almost anything, if not everything. It really goes to show political commentators are political commentators, but when they get pushed on the groundwork for their morality, it's a major problem. So what do you think? Do we need God for morality? Can you really ground morality without God? And if you believe that you can't, I want to hear what your best argument is, your best framework is. I know the comments are often long, and I try to engage with them, but sometimes there's just too many. And some people say, well, there's not that many that you can't engage with them. But I have a very busy life. I love this channel so much, but the time to engage with comments, all of the comments, is very difficult for me. So those of you who have said that to me, just know I'm being honest here. I don't ask for comments and then just avoid them. I really try to read all them, but if there's just too many and they're really long, it gets really hard to answer all of those comments. But I read most of them. But please let me know what you think. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say. God bless you so much. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, consider supporting on Patreon. May God bless you. I love you so much. And Lord willing, I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.